Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of 3DM, the podcast, where we talk all things data and, most importantly, how we can leverage data to help our businesses thrive. Today, I am pleased to welcome Chris Palumbo. Chris is an old friend and an industry expert in all things predictive maintenance. So we're going to really get down and dirty during today's episode and talk about your operation, how you can create ROI, how you can build value, and what are some of the tools that you can use that are data-driven in terms of your assets and the physical stuff within your facility. So Chris, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Alex. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. So not everyone listening to this podcast is going to be an expert on physical assets, machinery, and equipment of that nature, but you are an expert on something called CMMS. So why don't we start by telling the audience what CMMS is and how it can benefit their business?
Yeah, so CMMS is a computer maintenance management software program that really anybody who has an asset, and let's face it, an asset can be a piece of equipment, machinery, infrastructure, it could even be a tree or a bench, but it's a program that helps people get data on what's happening within their plants, within their structures, what's happening with their assets, the health of their assets, where their assets are, but also one step further, the inventory, the spare parts, where are those? When are they being used? And how often are they being used? So it really does encompass a lot of what's happening within the plant, giving people the ability to make very data-driven decisions based off of real-time information on their assets and inventory.
Yeah, that sounds like it would certainly benefit someone looking to get a real-time picture of everything in their facility, how it's running, what potential, flaws might be going on, where they can create areas of opportunity. Talking to me a little bit about the typical organization that would be kind of a best fit for implementing a CMMS solution.
Yeah, and so obviously I said an asset can be anything, right? But we find a lot of our businesses in manufacturing, food and beverage, pharmaceutical, anything that's really production, gas and oil, companies that are producing or have a lot of equipment or assets within several different departments or plants really need to have quick data on the health of their lines, the health of their assets, where their inventory is. No one wants to stop production because they can't find a $25 spare part. So really it's within those verticals that we find ourselves more and more growing. But I will say too, municipalities across the country, wastewater plants, management plants, they all have assets, whether it's fleet or others that need to be maintained, and really give them as much information as possible on what's happening with their assets. So really anybody who has an asset that needs to be maintained and watched and needs information could utilize a CMMS program. And should be utilizing the CMMS program, because you just mentioned something that is a conversation I have all the time, is a lot of people don't understand where they're failing or don't understand their true issues because they don't have the tools to understand what's happening within their plant until they adopt a CMMS program and gives them that data, lets them know where the bottleneck issues are and what's happening and why their production's slowing down.
Yeah. So how would someone go about the adaptation part of the initiative, right? Like, what does it actually take to implement a CMMS solution within your organization?
Yeah, and that's a good question because, it has to be the right solution for that customer. And what I always ask is, first conversations is, what exactly are you looking for? What's important to you to pick out, first off, the correct CMMS program? Is it, do you need mobile capabilities? Do you need real-time data provided to you to make those decisions? Are you looking for multi-facility view? Is inventory management something that's really, you're struggling with? Is compliance something that staying compliant is something that really matters to you? Once we get through those questions and answers, then we start looking at the different types of software and options that are out there for them within the CMMS industry. And from there, you talk about who's going to be utilizing the software, how they're going to be utilizing it. And it's really a best fit scenario for them. So we find something that really fits well for them within our programs. And then the implementation really depends on how they want to move forward with it. So implementation process should be treated more like a partnership, right? Where a company partners with their customer and walks with them step by step on helping get everything implemented and integrated, help them get their instance in there, testing and trying out the software, and really just allowing them to play around with the software and understand how it works best so that they can get up and running and get that ROI as fast as possible. And really, anybody who wants to buy anything, especially software, wants to get that ROI as fast as possible.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think ROI is key for any type of capital investment. I'm sure that there are costs associated with implementing a solution like this, but you get the corresponding benefits and cost reductions across your operation, right?
Absolutely.
Can you give us some examples of those?
So I will say that there's obviously costs associated with implementation, and the price of implementation is different than what I say is the cost of not doing it correctly. Right. So, what we really do focus on is training. So obviously we're going to work with them, with our customers, and we get everything within, imported into the LLumin instance for them. And we get everything set up for them, their assets, their procedures, their videos, their plant, everything that they need. But what's the point of giving them all that information and data and software if they don't know how to truly utilize it? So the biggest bang for their buck within the implementation process is training, is sitting down with the technicians or the admins or the machine users and really going through their day-to-day operations and showing them, showing the boots on the ground how a LLumin CMMS Plus program will really affect their day-to-day operations and get them the time back that they need to really do their job and not do, admin issues with writing work orders down on paper or emailing people. So yeah, implementation is very important. Integration is really important. It's all part of that one, fee that generally happens with adopting a software. But the training is truly, the biggest portion of what I think implementation truly should be all about.
Yeah, and the way to realize that ROI is obviously to see your bottom line shrink,
Sure.
right? In terms of the amount you spend on holding inventory that you don't need, potentially energy savings, right? Predictive maintenance on your equipment. What are some of the kind of real world examples that you've seen companies where they really find that value in implementing one of those solutions?
Yeah. So, one of my favorite parts about this job is having that 3-month, 6-month, 12-month conversation with customers after they're fully implemented with our software. And I can't lie to you. The majority of the conversations are basically the same. They're saying, yeah, we didn't even know that we were losing, 15 to 20% of inventory annually, and we were buying too much until we started tracking it and figuring out where these spare parts are going or where they're being used. The best part is saying, wow, we've really reduced our overall maintenance costs by not over maintenancing assets. And a lot of people don't understand that too. If they don't have a program and they don't have a really great way of keeping track of the maintenance of their equipment, a lot of times companies are spending extra hours and extra time and extra spare parts over maintenancing assets and equipment, because let's face it, they want their equipment to be healthy they want to keep that throughput going. But over maintenancing can lead to a high cost of operation. So, between the inventory management, the reduction in overall maintenance cost, and really, to tell you the truth too, it's the overall happiness that their techs are day to day. It's hard to put a number on that, but a lot of the conversations I have are with technicians as well, saying, "Wow, the software's saving me so much time because I know what my tasks are. I know where the spare parts are. I have 2 clicks I have to do within my mobile capability. I can work when I'm not offline. I don't have to run back and forth to my computer." So, the time overall being saved there too is insurmountable. It's a fantastic conversation to have with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about like a best of breed approach to CMMS, or what kind of some of the tools and feature sets that are potentially integrated with their existing ERP software, right? Can you talk about
Absolutely.
that?
So, we know the lane we are in. We are a CMMS company. We are an asset management, inventory management tracking company that provides real-time data on what's happening within your plant. There are fantastic ERP programs out there too that offer some type of, I'd say asset management program as well. Best of breed's a great way of saying about if you really want to get the most data possible in real time on the health of your assets, on your inventory, on the infrastructure, what's happening, and really get into more of a predictive maintenance approach than just a reactive and even preventive maintenance approach, then, looking at a true CMMS program is the way you want to go. We also tie into, all ERP programs. We communicate with PLC tags. So there's a lot of benefits with working with a true CMS program. You can also look like many people do, and they should look at the options out there at certain ERP programs that are very good within the financial side of what they do, but may not provide them with that data or that information that they need daily to make other types of decisions that will keep their throughput running, their unplanned downtime, as low as possible, and really help them have a better understanding of their cost and time that's being spent throughout production.
Okay, so in addition to some of the things you mentioned, like streamlining maintenance operation, reducing asset downtime, what are some of the other benefits that you typically talk to decision makers about in terms of doing a successful CMMS deployment?
Yeah, and that's a good question too. So I'd say obviously we've been talking about assets, and a CMMS can significantly contribute to increasing asset return, right? By really optimizing maintenance practices and extending the life and the lifespans of an asset, and overall really improving the operational efficiency. An ROI can be really determined on many different factors, right? What industry are you in? What's your current maintenance strategy? How do you plan on implementing the software? So there's a lot there. But what we've been able to see is that we've been able to help our customers really extend the life of their assets by 15 to 20%, really giving them that peace of mind, knowing that they're going to have the equipment that they need running. Production will not be stalled because of downtime, unprevented downtime. They're going to be able to utilize triggers and real-time data to, know of an issue before it becomes a problem. They're going to be able to allocate inventory better, especially customers that have multiple plants. Let's face it, it's easier to transfer spare parts from one plant to the other than continuously buying spare parts. Eliminating redundancy. A lot of companies we find are using multiple softwares to, accomplish one task when, we can eliminate those multiple softwares, have them use LLumin CMMS Plus, have us tie into the ERP program so they don't have to do double purchase orders, really tracking the time it takes to do a work order, and giving them the ability to understand who's working on what maintenance is being done, if it needs to be reassigned, because let's face it, people get sick or people aren't in the office, they're not working, how easy it is to have that reassignment functionality. So really just saving time and money on that as well. Instead of just streamlining maintenance operations, which a CMMS should do, there's a lot more different types of ROI that can happen when it's taken advantage of properly.
Yeah, I'm envisioning I'm the captain of the USS Production Enterprise, right? And it's my control center that gives me great real-time insights into every facet of my operation, allowing me to make decisions that much faster, allowing me to save money, allowing me to plan better for future production capacity and performance. Is that about
That's exactly what it is. And I'll tell you this, I learn more too every time I have these conversations with my customers on how they're utilizing LLumin to get that information. So I just had a conversation this week. So we have a facility view, which shows in real time all the assets within the plant in their lines. And this company keeps up the facility view on a few different televisions. And every morning, and then in the afternoon, they do it for the second shift as well, they get together and they look at one of the televisions, and in real time, they'll see, because it updates, what assets down, what assets being worked on. And that helps them then plan the next shift's production. So they know of any bottlenecks that might happen prior to that. So I just thought that was really cool that they're doing something and keeping it up on a TV in a break room and on one of their lines that I never really thought about before. But yeah, so they have these conversations with, okay, so where do we want to move production into what line? If we know this line's being worked on, or going to have some maintenance done. It gives them information on that. It gives them as much data as possible to make the best possible decision for that day, week, or month.
Right. It seems to me that, CMMS is a really great example of, big type of technological trends that have been going on for some time. So IoT and Industry 4.0, right? I mean, it's absolutely critical that your organization evolves to keep up with these trends. Otherwise, you're going to be less competitive than someone that you're going head to head with, right? So
Absolutely.
What have you seen in terms of those trends like Industry 4.0 and IoT helping some of your customers become more predictive and proactive in their maintenance strategies, as an example?
Yeah. So Industry 4.0, the industrial Internet of Things, has really been revolutionizing maintenance strategies, empowering customers to become really more predictive and proactive in managing their assets and equipment. And the technology advancements, which seems to be happening weekly, has really introduced several key capabilities that really do enable organizations to move away from the old school reactive maintenance approach and embrace more efficient cost savings practices. Whether it comes to real-time data collection and monitoring, these devices and sensors, which we integrate with into equipment and assets, really do allow them to collect, vast amount of real-time data on the performance and the condition. And those sensors are great, but unless you have the right software that can truly utilize that data, you're still chasing your tail around trying to figure out, okay, we have these sensors, we know this is what's happening, but what are we going to do with that information, right? And that's where a true CMMS software comes in. You should be able to create triggers, be able to use that data to say, we know what's happening, and if something, falls below a mark that we don't like, preventive maintenance will happen. Real-time data collection is big, which leads to predictive maintenance. Really, like I was just saying, by analyzing data collected from these devices, customers can really implement those predictive maintenance strategies. Advanced analytics and machine learning really do help identify patterns and trends that really indicate, equipment failures. And this gives more and more data and abilities for maintenance managers, production managers to understand what's happening within their plant, with their assets. So it's like, predictive maintenance, condition based maintenance is really being affected by IoT. Improved asset life cycle management is something we just spoke about. With these sensors and these ability to look at the information, what's happening is assets are being able to stay healthier, longer, and really help, customers have more of an ROI with those assets because they're utilizing the real-time data with that.
Yeah. And of course, you can't talk about technological advancement without throwing AI into the mix, right? That's been the hot topic of 2023 for sure. The stock market loves it. Companies are figuring out new and innovative ways to use generative artificial intelligence to improve their operations. How does all of that play into the CMMS mix?
Yeah, so AI plays a transformative role within CMMS. The landscape's changing all the time, enhancing its capabilities and really providing numerous benefits to maintenance management. And it seems like this game keeps changing. I don't believe as an industry, we're truly even scratching the surface of what AI has to offer with CMMS software. But once again, this type of improvement in technology is helping with predictive maintenance. It's utilizing AI to best understand trends within equipment, especially ones obviously that are newer with the sensors. You can really utilize AI, combining it with made triggers to understand when there will be a failure, right? What metrics causes these failures, and how can we prevent that failure happening if we know the metrics before it happens? So AI has been, it's a topic we speak about all the time. We're trying to learn the best way of utilizing it. It is, not a standalone functionality yet of just, being able to say, yeah, it's all just AI. It's utilizing AI with the proper programs that are already in place. Yeah. But the future is, I'm excited to see what else AI can bring within our industry.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the concept of virtual twins? Does the software have anything to do with creating like a replica of the operating environment in a virtual domain, and then kind of using some predictive tools to say, okay, based on what we know about typical operations in this particular industry, this might happen. So we need to be on the lookout for that.
So we are doing something very similar. That term is not something that I'm overly familiar with, but we're doing something very, very similar with our machine conditioned learning and the ability to run an asset virtually and say, this is what's happening, cause a failure and say, this is what caused the failure, learn from it, and then create triggers to get notified before those failures happen. So we're doing something very, very similar. What we do as well is work with our customers. Let's say they'll come to us and say, hey, can you help us? We have these triggers. We're utilizing Lumin to utilize, with our sensors, we're integrated. We have these triggers. And yet it's still, something's going on with the equipment. We're doing these work orders, but it's still failing. So we'll work with them and we'll look at the numbers and we'll look at the data with them. And we'll say, well, let's try to play around with the triggers and see maybe we need to change it up a bit and give them some more ideas on the triggers and train them a little bit more on how to use condition-based monitoring and machine learning. And then, see if we can solve the problem there. And more times than not, that happens. It's just kind of spreading the knowledge on how to best utilize machine learning and understand really the health of their assets.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that we haven't discussed much is kind of like the energy piece. Is there a component of CMMS that looks at energy consumption within a facility that helps them understand if there's, too high amount of electricity or other forms of energy being used, and kind of addresses that component? Because obviously with the price of energy going up substantially over the last year, that's a key part in trying to save the operator money. So what do you guys do in that area?
And that's a great question, because more and more we're having conversations with companies who are already utilizing our software for their physical assets as an equipment, but now they're moving it towards, I need to know what's happening within the infrastructures themselves, the HVAC, the energy, all of that good stuff. And we are going through the process of we can tie into and communicate with anything that's measuring something. So when we do the energy, we can keep track of it. We can show them what's being spent. We can show them daily or even hourly reports if they want, so they can see where the energy is being moved and used. Absolutely. That is something that is more and more of a conversation that I'm having. And it's a really cool conversation, because before, I'd say even a year ago, it's not anything I thought about. Yeah. It's not anything that was really brought up to me and say, hey, can your software help me with this? But it was something that, you're absolutely right, because of so many customers asking and learn and wanting to understand that we can do that. So what we really do is we spend time creating triggers with our customers, as well as if too much energy, if it hits a certain mark on, let's just say one line, or too much equipment, there can be somewhere turns off, right? Or a work order gets created to lower it, or whatever the customer wants. It all bases on what their needs are. But it's a really cool conversation to have. And absolutely, CMMS is not just asset management for your equipment or inventory for spare parts. It's fully on infrastructure, fleet, gas, and obviously gasoline for your fleet is something that you want to be able to track constantly. And that's something we're doing all the time, being able to give them the ability to know how much gas are they spending within their fleet. So It's definitely more than just asset management. When you think about what else can you tie into, what other information can you give us, so that we can have these morning conversations and best really discuss how we're going to proceed for the week.
Yeah. What are the trickiest parts, I think, in predictive maintenance, in selling any kind of tool that helps people save money down the road, is that you're talking to folks that are not responsible for paying the operational costs, right? Sure. The person making the purchase decision is not the person that's typically paying the bill. So what do you tell them to think about? Like, what is the pitch that you give that really resonates with people to say, yes, I recognize it's an investment now upfront, but it's going to save me money down the road. And not only money, but like you said, through time and all sorts of other benefits as well.
Right. And so you have to obviously curtail your conversation to who you're speaking to. When I'm talking to people who are going to be utilizing the software, the boots on the ground, as I'm saying, it's really, how's it going to benefit them directly? Right? How many hours am I going to give you back in your day? How much easier is your job functionality going to be utilizing our software? When I'm talking to individuals who are really more concerned with overhead, throughput, downtime, then, we use, an ROI calculator. We use numbers on what has been happening in the past and show them, listen, by eliminating this percentage or eliminating this waste, this is where you were last year. This is where you will be after 12 months. And then we can go and this is where you're going to be after 24 months. I will say it is tricky to have that conversation, because a lot of companies don't know their waste. They don't know the inventory that they're losing, or how many hours are being wasted within their maintenance program, until they have, that software that can start measuring it. I'm surprised to this day how many conversations I have with, companies who are still reliant on emailing, person-to-person communication on just say, hey, something needs to get fixed, or find a spare part, or, and they're not doing a great job tracking it. And they know they're not. Yeah. They're just not there yet to get that CMMS software. So I have that conversation with them was, listen, it's a software I'm selling you, but in reality, I'm selling you the ability to gather data, to make better decisions for your company, and really, like you said, lower your overhead by just doing your job, by just doing the maintenance that needs to be done anyways, but doing it smarter.
Yeah. And what would you say is fairly typical payback period for someone who's looking to implement this? Like, I know that it varies from industry to industry and from company to company, but give us a sample of what a payback period would look like.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, I do have a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month conversations. And then anytime in between a customer needs to speak with me, then I check up on them and I see how the software's running and any issues or what's working best for them. Generally between the 6-month and the 12-month, definitely at the 12 months is when we start documenting the ROI that they'll see, right? And that is, can you show me how much of a reduction in unplanned downtime you are? Have you been able to, and generally after 12 months, it's over 20% a limit / of unplanned downtime because they're utilizing and they're streamlining their work order process. They're keeping their assets healthy and they understand what's happening before it becomes a problem. And then we'll focus on the inventory. How much extra or less spend, I should say, on inventory have you seen from this 12-month period going back to the last month? And that's pretty easy for them. They can say how much spare parts they had to purchase, by us setting up those min-max triggers for them and keeping the inventory on the floor for them. They can really see, the drastic spend that they are not having anymore of over purchasing. And from there, we generally see between a 30 and 35% reduction in asset spend for 12 months. And so those are the two really within 12 months that we focus on. But then when we go longer, we can look at, we take a look at the 12-month, but OEE is really important. Right. And it's a really important factor, KPI for a lot of our companies. So we will generally, work with them and have them study and see what type of OEE differences are you seeing here?
Just for someone that might not know that term, what does OEE stand for?
Operational equipment efficiency. So basically what's happening is they just want to see how efficient their company is running. And really a CMMS program should help you be more efficient. Now, it doesn't have to do it in just one way. There's multiple ways as we're talking about, whether it's energy or asset management or labor or tracking of time being spent on maintenance, which is a big one. You want to have a program that's really going to offer you that ability to be more efficient, not just give you the information, because let's face it, like if someone just gave me a bunch of information, I wouldn't know what to do with it. Right. You want to have something that's really broken down to say, this is what's causing the issues. This is what you have to do to resolve that. This is how you're going to resolve that. If you have too many hours being spent on maintenance of a specific equipment, this is, you might want to take a look at it, and then you can dive into and see, okay, this is the overall cost of this life of this piece of equipment. Is it worth spending all of this money on maintaining it, or do we need to buy a new one? And those are the different types of functionality that we offer and information we offer that if once it's taken advantage of, you're really running much more efficient.
Yeah, you can't be a data-driven decision maker if you don't understand how to put the numbers to work, right? Like what actions will come out of it. Very, very cool. I think that what you've shared with us today is going to be extremely helpful to the audience in trying to figure out how to best utilize CMMS. Tell us a little bit about LLumin and how we can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so, LLumin's been around since 2004. We obviously just type in, if you're interested in learning more about us, LLumin CMMS Plus. We are LLumin, LLumin.com. And we got a pretty cool website with a lot of case studies of ours. You can email me anytime at chris@LLumin.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you and learn a little bit more about what you're looking for. We're a really cool company because, we're headquartered in Springfield, Massachusetts, and everything we do is in-house. And what I love about LLumin is we really do listen to what our customers' needs are. Some of the best enhancements we've made over the last several years with software has come directly from talking to our customers and understanding what their needs are. And as we've mentioned, with technology changing as much as it is, needs change as much as fast as technology. So we really do adapt. We really do work the software for the best of our customers. And that's it's pretty cool to be partnered with a company like that.
That is pretty cool. Chris, thank you so much for coming on 3DM, the podcast. Really enjoyed our conversation today. I learned a lot about CMMS. I hope
Thank you.
our audience did too. And with that, we'll sign off and look forward to welcoming you on the next episode of 3DM, the podcast. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Alex. Have a great rest of the day.
Take care.